Good day YouTube and welcome to another video. Now it's obvious that I'm not down at the location, I am back home in the office, but I wanted to put this segment at the front of this video simply because when I was down at Trebarwith Bay, which is the location that the rest of the vlog is from, probably about 2 to 3 weeks ago now, I didn't really get on that well at the location. My filming or my vlogging didn't really go to plan, and there's a specific reason for that, which is why I wanted to kind of put this video together still. I was in two minds about just ditching it, although I did like one of the, or a few of the images at the end, especially the black and white portrait one, which you'll see a bit later. So I still wanted to try and do something with it, but I found it very, very difficult to vlog down there. It was a very busy location. I was shooting around about midday, or about, say, 11 o'clock in the morning, where a lot of tourists were down there. And it's a very small hemmed-in location, so if you've ever been there yourself, you'll realise that once you get a few people there, they do really start crowding the scene. I kind of thought about doing it as well because I saw a vlog probably a few months ago now from another vlogger, or photographer should I say, called Gary. His photography channel is called RE Photography, and he talked about a situation in one of his Q&As, and he also did a video about it, where he was down at a location and kind of some wild swimmers or tourists kind of came down and jumped in front of his shoot as he was doing it. And it's always a bit of a tricky situation really, because you don't obviously own the location, and it's just down to kind of good manners really, not jumping in the way. And it's something you've got to expect as a photographer. You've got to expect tourists and just general public are going to get in your images and get in your shots. And I do occasionally, if I go to a locations when there is a photographer there, I will potentially get in the background of his shot if I go off and explore a different location. But I think it comes down to the approach here. I think it comes down to the fact that you've got to kind of not be disrespectful. So in Gary's case, he was already set up and they did just go and jump in front of him, and I don't see why they couldn't have just had a conversation with him first, in which the answer probably would have been, if they just waited 5 minutes, they could have probably had the scene to themselves. You don't normally expect that type of thing from photographers though, and although you can class a photographer as many things regarding on how much kind of you are into it, whether you just see it as going to a location with your phone, or whether you do have a more of a setup and a lot of gear with you. But you wouldn't really normally expect someone with a camera, or especially a tripod and a camera, someone that's a bit more into it, to go and jump in front of your scene, and that's exactly what happened as I was down at the location. So this image, so this video is going to be probably a bit clickbaity in the title, but it's because I want to get it across that what actually happened to the scene. Now, basically, I was all set up, I had my camera out. It's very difficult to vlog, like I said, there's a lot of people around me, and this other photographer just came and kind of walked along the scene there, and basically sat right in front of me, a bit further down, set up his tripod, and pretty much blocked my images for probably about 20 minutes really while he was there. At that point I'd left. I didn't want to wait for him anymore, and I did actually manage to remove him in Photoshop, so I saved the scene, and I wasn't massively I wouldn't have been massively upset anyway, to be honest, because I wasn't really feeling it when I was down there. But I was thinking about it afterwards, and I thought if it was a really nice location and the sky was kicking off really nice and everything went perfectly, I would have been really, really annoyed about him doing that. And I think as photographers, we expect the general public just to kind of step in our shots, and I don't think that's always something they do on purpose. A lot of time we tend to be shooting wide angle lenses, and I honestly don't think people think they walk into the scene. I've had many people stop by me, talk to me and say, oh, you know, we'll wait for you to finish, yet they're still stood in the scene, because they just don't realise that the angle of the lenses are so wide. And it's something you just got to expect really. Sometimes you've got to have a bit of a conversation with them and just say, you know, can I just have 5 minutes? Or to be honest, most of the time I just let them do what they want to do, and I kind of try and work around them. That being said, this guy was a photographer, he had a tripod and a camera. It did kind of annoy me a bit at the time, simply because I just thought, you know, you kind of doing what I'm doing, yet you gone and stood right in front of me. So just a bit of a discussion in front of this one. Probably the reason why I didn't get as many good images there kind of annoyed me really. And also you can't really see in the footage from this vlog, but all the way to the right of me there was probably 15 people all sat along the wall with their feet dangling down. Some of them were less than say 2-3 feet from me. I didn't really want to make a big scene at the time and stuff like that, and like I said, it wasn't really someone else feeling it that great deal. I don't think he would have affected kind of how I was enjoying the scene really anyway, because I wasn't really feeling it. In the end, the images came out alright because Photoshop did remove him really well. A lot of the time it won't do that when they're close up and sat on rocks with the water behind. A lot of the time Photoshop won't do such a good job, but in this instance it really did. It really worked quite well. So I'm just gonna basically sum it up by saying I didn't get all the footage I probably would have liked down there, but the main thing I'm kind of putting this in here is just to say, you know, sometimes I think you just got to have a conversation with people because they just do not understand what they're doing, or potentially maybe not what you're doing. I 100% agree with Gary. I mean, it was obvious he was shooting a picture of the waterfall and they went and kind of jumped in and started swimming around with it. You know, it's something they should have probably talked about more, or asked if they could have done it. I think the photographer in that case should have done it as well, because he did walk past me and look and wander around. He knew he would have been in my scene, he just didn't really care, I think. Or maybe he didn't realise I was shooting that exact way. He might have thought I was shooting down one of the cracks and the crevices or something like that as well, but I think he probably should have kind of worked out what he did before he did it. The other thing to stand up for the general public a bit is I don't get the argument with photographers when they refuse to use Photoshop to take out people that might happen to be in the background of their scene. Photoshop's a tool. You're not adjusting the scene, you're not changing how natural the scene is. By removing somebody from it, it's still exactly the same, you know, you're not adjusting it. That scene is going to be like that for 99.999% of the time. Just because someone wanders in or a car drives past or whatever it may be, I don't see that's a good reason to kind of go on the warrior thing about that. Just remove them, problem solved. Anyway, I'll stop rabbiting on, but yeah, just basically sum it up to say that it does happen. Sometimes just try and shoot around it. It's annoyed me in this instance, but I'm still glad I got the shot. I hope you enjoy the video coming up. It's a bit sporadic, but I hope you like it. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments, and whether you think that you get to see this a lot when you're shooting, or you think a lot of people jump in the way of you, or whether you've had problems with other photographers as well. I'm kind of in the mindset that if you're at a scene first, you kind of have control over it unless people are speaking to you. Now that's exclusive to photographers, because like I said, the general public generally do what they want to do a lot of the time. And you can see this in my own videos. The one that I did a few weeks ago when I went to St Michael's Mount, I went to shoot the causeway. There was another photographer there. I didn't even bother speaking to him to see if I could fit him beside him, because I knew it would have been disruptive to his images, so I went and found another composition. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, if you've come across situations like this yourself. Hope you enjoyed the video coming up, and I'll see you a bit in the future. Hi YouTube, and welcome to another video. Now it's very noisy where I am. I'm right next to this stream that's gorged its way down this rock. I'm still in Cornwall. Most of the noise is coming from this kind of waterfall that you can probably see behind me. coming down this kind of gorge, this crack in the rock. I'm down at Trebarwith Strand, which is this really cool cove slash tiny beach, I suppose you could call it, down in Cornwall on the northwest coast. And I saw this location last night on a website when I was kind of looking for somewhere for sunrise. Now, I didn't get here for sunrise this morning. Unfortunately, it was far too cloudy, and at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was pretty tired, I didn't really think it was worthwhile getting down here. Probably could have done some nice long exposures with that cloud, but I wasn't really feeling it this morning, so I jumped back in the van and got some more sleep. I've been surviving on a few hours each night at the moment, so it's not going too well. It's a really cool location. You've got a few things to shoot here. You've got this nice kind of walkway, or this rock that goes out into the distance with some nice contrast and foreground interest could be had on that. And you've got some nice shapes and patterns. The problem is I think it looked really nice around high tide, but at the tide level we've got at the moment, it's just, there's no really nice lines to shoot in it. You have to get right down towards the end before you get any water coming over it at all. And I don't think it looks very nice, or not very appealing anyway. Definitely somewhere which would look better around high tide. So I'm shooting something slightly different. And to be honest, it's the thing that I wanted to shoot. I think with the rock there, it would look really nice with some sunrise or sunset colours, because we do have this really cool, massive rock in the background, which I can't see very well, sorry, because the sun is in my eyes. There you go. And it looks quite small on the camera, but it is a humongous rock that. It's really, really big. And I think it's going to look quite small in these pictures as well, because I'm shooting with a wide angle. It's really going to compress it and shrink it down. But the main thing I'm shooting is this really nice gully here, where the water over the kind of centuries has carved itself down through this rock and made these really nice patterns and kind of shapes in it as it goes out to sea. Which hopefully you can pick up. So yeah, it's a really, really nice scene, and I'm shooting some long exposures. You have to forgive the lighting on this video. It's about 11 o'clock now, and the lighting is very harsh. But it's still quite nice. I'm getting some nice colours because the rocks are covered in these seaweed and kind of growth along the sides where it kind of gets, the sun gets to it around low tide. And we're getting some really nice pastel textures, some nice kind of clear shots looking down the gorge up to the point in the background, with a bit of interest from the sea breaking on the landscape here. Now, I've been doing long exposure. I've been shooting around about 30 seconds, and I have managed to actually get a polarizer on there, which is making a huge difference to the water. It's really cutting the glare out, really making the greens come out in the water. And I'm also shooting with a hard grad, ND filter, 10-stop ND filter, and that's bringing those exposure times to about 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how I want to shoot. The 30-second shots are looking a bit too white in the background. It's really converting those white horses in the water, those big crashing waves, into just like a white blur. Not something that I find that appealing, so I'm probably going to try and reduce the shutter speed just down to a couple of seconds to see what difference that makes, see if I enjoy those shots a bit more. Now, I'm shooting with the 16-35mm on. You need a really, really wide angle lens here, as wide as you can get. And the reason is simply because you're shooting with so much foreground interest. Without that wide angle lens, it's not going to come out very nice at all. And like I said, I've got those two filters on there, the 10-stop ND and the polarizer filter. It's making a massive difference. And I'm shooting at about an ISO of 200, which is giving me a 30-second image at the moment. I'm going to play around some settings, try and get a bit of a quicker shutter speed on that, maybe reduce some of the filters I've got in the front, and see what images I can get. I'll continue shooting now, catch up with you in a bit later to see how I got on. It is very slippery down at this point as well, so some of the compositions are out of bounds until the weather kind of dries off the rocks. But I'm not too bothered because I don't think there's going to be any prettier compositions down there. I'll get these images in the bag, I'll flash them up, and if I can get another composition which is more involving the kind of crack through the rock and the water and the stream, I'll do that shot and I'll put that up as well. I'll catch up with you in a bit and let you know how I got on. I finished down at Trebarwith Bay now. I'm actually still in the car park, and it got really manic in the end. There's so many people down there. It got to a point where I just had to wait so long in between each image to get a shot. I was doing panoramic stitches in the end. I couldn't get anything I liked in landscape orientation. I think it's just because there wasn't much interest or colour in the sky, and I wanted to try and have as much interest in that gorge, that kind of crack, that kind of river flowing through the rock. That's why I wanted all the interest, just with the kind of little island in the background, just to really add a location to it so people kind of know where it's shot and they can tie it into an area. Nice images, really enjoyed doing it. It was a bit tricky down there. The compositions didn't come straight to mind. It is somewhere where I had to explore quite a lot around and kind of try and work out what worked best. And also it's very tidal dependent. I would recommend, probably if you are going to go there, 2 types of shots. One involving the kind of walkway, which might be what the Strand is. I would have thought you want to be going around about high tide to get some water coming over it, get some really nice textures, and what that will do is it will kind of level the sea up with the end of the Strand, which means you can shoot a nice smooth rolling scene down towards the island. And the other time you can go there is probably the time I've been here, which is around about low tide, which means you can get real good use of that crack, that valley, that gorge that goes down to the coast, down to the water. Now, a word of warning, it is very slippery, those rocks, so I would recommend, if you are going to go there and shoot that gully, go there around about low tide on a sunny day. Okay, if you want good images, go there around sunrise and sunset, but if you are generally just going to explore it, go at a day that you know the rocks are going to have dried out from the sun and they're going to be a bit more grippy. It's probably somewhere we'll get back to in the future. It's a relatively easy place to get to. You can simply drive in the car park here, and it is a 20-second walk down to the actual the gully. Like I said, very busy here now, so I'm going to make my way off, probably head back to Devon now. Don't think I'll stop at any other locations. Probably just going to get back and do a bit of admin and sort some stuff out. Thanks for watching this one. I honestly don't know how the images are going to come out myself. I've got lots of panoramic portrait images, shooting them at long exposures around about 30 seconds and using a 10-stop ND to get that effect. I don't know myself how they're going to turn out until I get them on the computer. You'll see them in a few minutes, but for me, I don't have a clue. Thanks for watching it anyway. Thanks for watching the last couple of ones that have gone up from Cornwall. I've really enjoyed my time down here. Had some nice weather, some nice images. So thanks for watching. If you have liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any comments, put them in the box. And as always, if you fancy following the channel, please subscribe, and I'll catch up with you on one of the future ones coming up.